except for the disappearances. Over the last 50 years, 5 people have vanished after entering the forest. Some blame the wolves, others a hidden sinkhole, but the elders of the town know the truth. They don't speak of it openly, only whispering warnings to stay away from the woods after dark. For as long as Emma could remember, she'd heard the stories. Her grandmother had told her once about a figure, pale and tall, that wandered the forest at dusk. It watches you, Emma. It never blinks. Never speaks. But if you look too long, it calls you to it, her grandmother had said with a trembling voice. Emma had dismissed it as nonsense. Just old tales to keep kids out of the woods. But on a dare, one cold October night, Emma decided to test her courage. She wasn't alone, her best friends, Sarah and Liam, were with her. Armed with flashlights and nervous laughter, they ventured into the forest, their boots crunching on the brittle carpet of fallen leaves. "Let's just find something creepy to take a picture of and get out," Sarah said, her voice tight. "Yeah, let's not waste too much time," Liam added, but he kept glancing over his shoulder. The deeper they went, the quieter it became. The hum of insects faded, replaced by an oppressive silence that pressed against their ears like cotton. The air grew colder, sharper. It carried a strange metallic tang, like rusted iron. "That's weird," Emma muttered. Her flashlight flickered. Then she saw it, a clearing up ahead, bathed in pale moonlight. In the center stood an old stone well, covered in moss and vines. "Perfect," Liam said, pulling out his phone. "Let's get a photo, Anne." A sound cut through the air, sharp and shrill. It wasn't a bird, nor the wind. It was a whistle. Long, low, and haunting. "Who's there?" Sarah called, her voice trembling. No one answered. Emma felt her stomach twist as a cold gust swept through the clearing. The trees seemed to lean closer, their gnarled branches reaching like claws. Then they saw it. At first, it was just a shadow, long and stretched, creeping out from behind the well. But it wasn't cast by the moonlight. It moved against the light, growing darker and larger until it stood before them. The figure was impossibly tall, its limbs too thin and too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. It had no face, just a smooth, pale surface where eyes and a mouth should have been. "Run," Emma whispered, but her voice barely carried. The figure tilted its head further, as if considering her. Then it raised a hand, a spindly, bony thing, and pointed at her. "Run!" Emma screamed, grabbing Sarah and Liam. They bolted, crashing through the trees, their breaths ragged and desperate. But the figure didn't chase them. It didn't need to. The whistling followed them, closer now, coming from all directions. They reached the edge of the forest and didn't stop running until they were back at Emma's house. They locked the doors, pulled the curtains, and sat in terrified silence. But that night, Emma woke to the sound of whistling outside her window. She didn't dare look, but she could feel it watching her. The next morning, Sarah and Liam tried to call her, but she didn't answer. When they went to her house, her bed was empty. The window was wide open. The only sign of her was a single handprint on the glass, too large, too thin, and far too high to have been Emma's. To this day, people say you can hear the whistling if you stand at the edge of Pine Hollow. And if you hear it, you're already too late.